shorty, okay, shorty, okay, shorty, okay, shorty, okay, shorty, okay, shorty, go to that bag. Welcome to my YouTube. I am Star Marie, your favorite self-taught seamstress, and if I'm not, I will be. And today we are going to be making a pleated bandana skirt. For these skirts, you're gonna need 3 bandanas or 6 if you plan on making it 100% out of bandanas, which is what I did with that one. But you do have an option to use a lining fabric if you only have a few bandanas, but you have lining. You will also need a zipper of your choice for this skirt. For this, you have the option to either cut out the border, which is what I plan to do, and pin it together and sew them together. And with all 3 bandanas, that'll get you about a medium or small skirt, and that will be about 2 yards and some change. So you would just cut out about 2 yards of the lining fabric as well to go in the back of it. For this skirt, I measured 6 inches between each pleat. It's really up to you how many you want. The bigger there are, the less pleats there are. The smaller they are, the more pleats there are. Now, once you have it all measured out and you cut it out, this is what the pieces will look like. If you choose to do the patchwork version of it, you can just do plain bandanas, but for this skirt, I am doing patchwork. Put them together, use some pins, and you will sew them together using a straight stitch. As I was measuring, there were shorter pieces, but for that, I would just put the shorter pieces together, and that will make 6 inches for that piece. One thing I would say to take notice of is to make sure that you're sewing in bandanas on the right side. Not all bandanas have a bad side, but it's always good just to make sure so nothing gets messed up. And once your pieces are all sewn together, you're going to want to use an iron to flatten out the seams so that when you add on the lining fabric, it won't show and you won't feel it through the skirt. Placing the lining fabric over the bandanas you have sewn, you're just going to flip it over on the bottom, and that will end up being the bottom of your skirt. Now this part of the video ended up being completely out of focus, and I don't know how I managed to do that. You can't even see how I was folding over the pleats on the other side, so I'm just going to show you how I did it. Now these are the pleats that I'm doing for this video for this skirt. I'm not really sure the names of all the pleats. Like I said, I'm fairly new to this. I just learned how to do these skirts 3 days ago. So I'm pretty sure there's plenty of videos on YouTube that will teach you how to do different pleats, but this is how I do mine. The most important thing I would say about doing these is to make sure that it's even and each one is about the same length as the last one, or it'll just end up looking a little weird and it won't look as coordinated as it could. I would also suggest pressing the pleats as you go through so that they start to form in shape, and then once you have the top all sewn up, it'll just look like a pleated skirt already before it's even completed. Now for this part, I used a piece of clear tape to mark where I'm stopping the top part where I'm going to sew for the pleats, and basically it's 11 inches down from each one, and the tape just helps me know exactly where to stop when I'm sewing so everything's even. With some thicker fabrics, it's harder to keep the pleats in, so it's better to sew the top a little so that the pleats won't come out. Sometimes you just gotta re-iron it sometimes, but that's about it. The pleats won't like completely disappear. With less thicker fabrics, you don't really have to, but most people do sew from the top down just a little bit. That's what I do. That's what all my skirts will have on them, is that little sew at the top. So yeah. And basically from this point on, you're just gonna straight stitch from the top, and then we're gonna do the waistband. I forgot to record this part, but for the waistband, you just fold it over and then you straight stitch it across. Only thing you have to make sure of is that it's completely even going across, but it's really easy. Inside when you put the zipper on, and then you would tuck the sides in. So it looks about something like this, and the top of the zipper would be hidden. They'll end up looking like this. Now I'm still fairly new to when it comes to sewing on zippers. Like I said, I am a self-taught seamstress. I watch YouTube videos just like everybody else. And I'm still learning how to put on zippers, but the way I put on zippers, first I'll start by straight stitching this, and then I'll straight stitch the front, and that's how I put on a zipper. I'll give a more detailed video later on in the future, but I'm still learning how to put on zippers just like everybody else. Zippers are not as complicated as people make it seem, but I like everything to look really neat, like, you know. Stitching is something that I like to, you know, show other people. Like, the way your work looks matters. I don't care what anyone says. The way your outcome of your work looks matters. It matters to me very much. This part might be a little backwards to most people, but after I sew the zipper on is when I completely sewed the skirt together on the ends, because that was all that was left to do. And for that part, I didn't do a straight stitch. I actually used the number 8 stitch on my sewing machine. It's like a serger type of stitch, and that's why I used it, just to make sure that, you know, any type of movement won't make the stitch just come out automatically. It was a stronger stitch, and I felt like it would have made more sense to use that. That is the end results of this video / tutorial. I hope you guys liked it and you learned something from it. And if you didn't or found it confusing, leave a comment and tell me what I could do better so that you can learn a little better from me. And of course, please leave a like and subscribe. Make sure to follow me on all my socials if you care. And thank you for watching my video.